What's up, guys? It's Richie Rich back yet again, and this time I'm bringing you a review of the 1996 classic Christmas film, The Preacher's Wife. Be sure to check this out. So, The Preacher's Wife, one of another fantastic film that came out in my favorite era, the 90s. This film obviously well noted for the first on-screen appearance together of Mr. Denzel Washington and Miss Whitney Houston. So around this time, this was 1996. Whitney Houston was able to capture like the hearts of America with her angelic, sweet voice that transcended even race. You know what I mean? She became such like she basically became like the number one at that time. One of the number one music talents. And because of her successful how mainstream she got from exposing like her incredible voice. She was able to Hollywood was able to look at her and basically said, wow, we could actually put this like nice beautiful black sister in a Hollywood film. And the first one that was actually offered to her was people, we all know, it was The Bodyguard, co-starring Kevin Costner, which came out, I believe it was a couple years just before this. And she also appeared in the film Waiting to Excel, Soul Food. So Whitney Houston was appearing in movies here and there, and it was really cool because, like I said in the past, and that, I'm a big fan of Nice, so I do a lot of my research because I was growing up around that time. I didn't, obviously see this, during that, so I had to obviously, go down to my Blockbuster. No, sorry, Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore. I have to go to, these kind of like retro stores, or, try and search for these, online, because I'm such a big fan. But around this time, especially during the 90s, with the whole I'm not saying like Hollywood was racist, but to have like a black lead woman as an actress at that time was very unheard of. The roles were few and far between. Even as beautiful as Whitney Houston was, God rest her soul, to have her in a major motion film during that early, the 90s era, and that it was, yeah, they just weren't giving them roles. Rather than having her, they would want like a Julia Roberts, or like a Jennifer Aniston. They were more, they wanted that kind of like universal appeal. So it's like you always saw like them in like supporting characters. Even in this is obviously a black film, but it's like it's still like a major motion film, because Denzel Washington at this time, he was like the hottest actor in the planet right at this time. Even People's Choice magazine granted him the sexiest man alive title. So he was the biggest thing since a hot white omelet. Thank you for the rock for that amazing quote. But like Denzel was like the man, around this. He started Pelican Brief, because what they were doing in Hollywood, because Denzel Washington was so big, he was black, but he was so big that they always put him as top billing. Then they would always kind of find like a white leading actress to play beside him. It was in Crimson Tide, sorry, not Crimson Tide, Courage Under Fire with Meg Ryan, The Pelican Brief with Julia Roberts, and a few other ones like Virtuosity. I think it was like Kelly Lynch and that. So, I mean, because Denzel was so marketable, but it's one of the things that Hollywood can't have too many of. Like, okay, you got this marketable black guy who even white women like love him because he's so dreamy. But like, they couldn't have like always like have a black female playing opposite aside him. It happened in a few cases, but most of them were black produce, like what was producing it, like, Mo Better Blues, Malcolm X, of course, and He Got Game, or even Crimson Tide. Lovely Vanessa Williams plays Denzel's wife in that. But majority of the times, obviously in Hollywood, they need to see their kind of people, if you get what I mean. Because when cinema started in Hollywood in the early 1900s, it was usually like, like the Paul Newman type had to be work with Faye Dunaway, you know what I mean? So, especially with Denzel, yeah, he has such like a perfect, super, super handsome guy who appeals like to everyone. They still need like a kind of white kind of woman female, because that's what's always still going to be seen as the what beauty should look like. It's after like literally just watching it, it's a nice I don't even know if I could use this word. It's a nice like Christmassy film, to watch during the holidays. You know what I mean? When I was watching this, it just reminded me of like the first time I was watching Home Alone, because Christmas is such like a family, together time, where you want to sit down and just like, be reminded of like, people just like living in harmony, which really is very established in this film, and I feel like definitely like Denzel and Whitney Houston, they bring their own qualities into this motion picture, and obviously we've got like the supporting cast, which I'll run down. You've got I think it's Courtney B. Vance. Let's check it. Courtney B. Vance, who appeared in I think everyone will know his notable role was in the O.J. Simpson TV show. I think it was The People versus O.J. Simpson, where he played the late great Johnny Cochran. It's like he's just a powerful actor. He's a guy who currently is married to Angela Bassett. Which is which is so terrific. You've got two dual, who are together, are great actors. So like with Courtney B. Vance, you can't go wrong. And you've also got you've also got Jennifer Lewis, the auntie in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was like, Diva! She her voice is so iconic, yeah, like the everyone is like watch Fresh. She comes in the season 2 of Fresh Prince, and she's appeared in a lot of like not the 90s sitcom. She appeared in like A Different World. I think she was the principal in the 6th season, and she also was the in the Living Single. She appeared in a few as like a talk show host and that. But Jennifer Lewis has been here and there. She's a very, very to the point comedian. Also, who makes a appearance, for a short amount of time is Lionel Richie. Hello, hello. That's my bad. He appears in this, when Whitney Houston, is in the film doing performance and it's just a small short cameo, but everything that was in there was needed just to see Lionel Richie on screen, because you don't really see him too many in like TV or films, like features and that. So to see him here, it's just a great great moment. And also, the other woman who appears is Loretta Devine, who she's again just another great black actress. She also appears like in Soul Food. She appeared in Crash, which was also in the early 2000s. She was the one who I think there was the one where Matt Dillon's character had come to to get some help for his dad, and he basically just doesn't like, black people and that, and he got in a heated exchange with Loretta Devine's character and that. But I mean, you've seen her in many, many films and TVs there. And what I found that dug some research, that she was actually a gospel singer, so she's very, very in tune with spirituality and church, which is tremendous. So whilst like grabbing this, it was very difficult to like even kind of review this, because to be honest, hand on God, because we all know God is part of the rich team, just to bring that out. But I had never ever seen this film like forever, what I mean? Like I've always known about The Preacher's Wife. I knew that like that was Whitney Houston and Denzel's first collaboration on screen, but I'd never ever seen it, even if it was shown on cable back in the day, or later on. They never put it on Netflix. I mean, Netflix, what are you doing? But like I've never ever seen it, so like just literally like after just watching it, I honestly think it's such a cool film. As I said, like I get that kind of just feeling of that Christmassy time, but let me tell you a bit about the plot. Yeah, so how the plot works is Whitney Houston's character is married to Courtney B. Vance's character. They've been married for like almost to a decade, and they have like a lovely adorable son. What has happened is Courtney B. Vance's character, he's allowed like work and his commitments to the church take his toll in life, so even though he's like he's responsible and he's a breadwinner and he's taking care of his family, he doesn't get too much time to spend with the family, and this creates a lot of like stress, because when Houston was like, she met him through church, she met him, she was part of the choir and that, and it's like as they got married, they you can kind of see like the spark is gone in their relationship, and at this time, Courtney B. Vance's character, he's so out of luck, man. He's just like, everything is going possibly wrong. So at one moment, he actually goes down and he asks for like, prayer, as we all do, in times of like, a despair, we look up to the heavens and ask for the big man upstairs for like some aid and support. And just so happened God was watching at this time, so he sends down an angel to earth, and this angel is in the character, it is basically the president of Denzel Washington. So like, yeah, Denzel comes into the scene, and what it is he basically wants like Courtney, he basically wants Courtney's character to basically like take more control of like what's going on. He wants him to become more of a family man. He doesn't want, because he has something special, with like with his wife, and he basically was saying that to say like, it's all good for like work here and there, but you need to make sure you spend time with the people who are special, the people who count, what I mean? And it's like what happens is like, he's at the start, he's very like he can't really tolerate Denzel. He's just like, who is this guy? He's saying he's from God. I mean, who is this guy? What I mean? But as time passes on, Denzel spends more time with Whitney Houston, because they're so, her and Jennifer Lewis, his mother, like, like just saw Denzel. It's like, that's a good looking guy. Whitney Houston, you can see like she starts to have like an affection for Denzel, because Denzel is completely the opposite of Courtney V's character. He's so charming. He always puts like, the kid that they have, he's always there to look out for him. He takes them out, to have fun. He's more just sociable, where Courtney was just like always head down, work. I always got to put the church first. I always got to put the church first. So it feels like in some scenes that wait, the angel is trying to move on to the married woman. What I mean? And that's what happens, because like I said, the Courtney B is so involved in his work, he doesn't have time to spend with his family. And I think that's actually a real talk. That's actually a serious thing that happens in a lot of families. Why I think a lot of kind of like couples who do get together and do decide to have a kid, sometimes like one of the half is working too much, so they don't see each other. So like they sometimes on they feel they try sometimes to fill that void of loneliness, and especially when someone like Denzel literally just lands on your doorstep, it's very difficult to say no, even though you are basically technically married. Sometimes this temptation is very a hard thing to like pour away. You gotta be very strong willed and disciplined, you know what I mean? You can kind of see through the story when Houston's getting pushed in, you know what I mean? But what I really love with the film is because like the marriage is very troubled, I mean, if Denzel didn't come into this, it could have obviously led to separation, then divorce, you know what I mean? But Jennifer Lewis, a character in this, she actually, near the, I think it's near the third act of the film, she walks with Denzel home and basically says that, Denzel, you're such a charming, likable guy, but, my daughter, Whitney Houston, is married. So basically, you can't step your shoes in this house. Basically, you gotta do that somewhere else. Which I think that's a definite, a great, moral to put, because at the end of the day, the woman's married. You know what I mean? You shouldn't, be stepping on someone's property unless like they're a free agent. You know what I mean? So it was really, really nice for Jennifer Lewis' character to say that. You know what I mean? So when that kind of happens, because at that near like the close quarters of the end, they're spending Denzel and Whitney used to spending so much time together. Even the scene when Lionel Richie drops in, they're in like kind of like a jazz kind of club where Whitney Houston actually sings like one of I think it's off the soundtrack for this, or it may have been one of her albums of the time. I don't know, but she sings one of her like just she's just stellar voice, man. You know what I mean? It's so sad that she's not with us anymore, but they going back onto it, they're spending so much time together, you know what I mean, and you can kind of see just Courtney is jealous, so like from like the later stages, it's like you can kind of see, because what was happening is the guy Courtney B. Vance he was basically like the main pastor for the church, and he had a friend who he grew up with who basically wanted to crush down the church and make it into a mall. You know what I mean? He said like he had some money that he could sort out the community, provide people jobs, but he wanted to start with getting rid of the church. You know what I mean? And he was saying like the church is a very symbolic place, where a lot of people need to come to, like everyone, no one's perfect, you know what I mean? A lot of people have made mistakes, over the years, and he said that the church is for some people to basically not allow, basically like Satan or negativity to consume you. It's a way to find that faith. It's basically hope. You know what I mean? So to crush something that in a community where a lot of people don't see hope is a very like a big put down. You can't do that. So he was that you can kind of see at one point he was with it. He was like, well, if I can get this community, obviously it's more cash in my pocket, ching ching. But he was like thinking like, sometimes like money isn't everything. Sometimes you have to stand up for what you believe in. And he went from Courtney B. Vance's character. It's very nice on him because at the start he goes from a troubled marriage who was just only concerned about getting that payday to like basically saving his marriage at the end, and more concerned about the family and the loved ones rather than this kind of like dirty money. And what I really love about it is because Denzel, when he sees Courtney B. Vance starting to change, because like I said, Denzel's an angel in this, so sometimes he does these kind of like miraculous things. One time he blows and Courtney B. Vance and Whitney Houston fall into each other. So he kind of has these kind of like special abilities, which are not really touched on, but I mean, it's shown that he was he was an angel. But like I love how like because it's clear that them two are falling for each other. Then after the talk with Whitney Houston's mom, played by Jennifer Lewis, Denzel, steps back and he says, "Yeah, honestly, on the different circumstance, if he wasn't married and had a kid, I would, obviously try my luck. But with the situation, she's married. I have no way to do that, So he steps back, and later on, you just see that Denzel mostly takes a back seat in the film, and and it allows Courtney B. Vance and Whitney Houston's characters to re-blossom their the fire, what I mean, that they had when they first met each other, what I mean. And it's just a nice, like, from where the film begins to where it ends, just a nice, like, a way like how a marriage can be saved, sometimes just taking time to spend with your loved ones, it helps in a long way. But yeah, man, I really wish I could explain, in detail so much about the soundtrack, because I've been totally fresh with this film, maybe after repeated viewings, I could, you know, elaborate more and discuss more about the soundtrack, what I mean? Because I'm not gonna lie, I know of Whitney Houston, I'll always love you. I already know Whitney Houston, but it wasn't like I was, getting her albums, because during the 90s I was just such a big Michael Jackson fan. I had Dangerous, I had Bad, I had what was it, Invisible. I was more Vim. Like, if there was anyone I was collecting music off, during that, 90s time to early 2000s, it was Michael Jackson. So even though I know Whitney Houston's voice is like none other, I wasn't too like familiar with like her certain albums, what I mean. But even with that, just the music, like she has like a solo at the end of the film, and also the one at the party where Lionel Richie appears. It's just like when you just see her sing, it kind of got me goosebumps. Even though I didn't know the album and that, I would just get like that kind of like feeling like, man, this is just, it just draws you in, because her voice is just so demanding. What I mean? Like, I sometimes gotta stop whatever I'm doing. What I mean? And just be like, watching this like beautiful woman sing, what I mean. And it's, what I mean, and the real tragedy of like Whitney Houston is like, how things did fall into, like her demise, with like, the relationship with Bobby Brown, the extensive use of drug use, what I mean. It's such a mad shame, how she, went that kind of avenue, because she was, again, one of them ones who left us too soon, who was destined for great things, what I mean. Because around this time, yeah, she was married to Bobby Brown, so, I know I heard that, because it's funny, because when you see her, it's like, especially this film, you're like, how could this, like, gorgeous woman ever be involved in that kind of nonsense, and there must have just been a real dark side that was never presented for Whitney Houston in front of the cameras. Especially, I know later after we saw like how much weight she lost and that, what was, happening behind closed doors, but it's like, it's a good thing with looking at this is sometimes never judge a book by its cover, what I mean. A lot of people do, keep a lot of secrets and that, and yeah, it's just a real shame when you see like what happened to her, man. But yeah, man, honestly, who would I recommend this to? I would say, first of all, this is a very good like Christmas film. I mean, if you want to watch this for like just to get you into that season and that, it's a nice film just to watch the with the family. It's a universal suitability, so anyone can watch it, your kids, your aunties, it's a nice like sit together film, but what I think of it is what I really got out of this, it touched on so much of like when couples get married and the spark starts to die, you know what I mean? And in this one it touched on more of like where the husband was putting his work and that instead of like his actual wife and the kids, because in this film, like Whitney Houston's not actually she's not like job driven, you know what I mean? She's like more family, like I've got the kid, I've got my mother here, I'm more about getting this family. And Courtney B. Vance is just all about breadwinner, it's about work, 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 work. So it really just like illustrates to me of like, when you do kind of get married, it's kind of like it's a joint, it's a partnership, so you've got to spend some time evenly, not saying spend all the time together or not spend time at all. There's got to be a certain balance between both participants, because it's a marriage, it's like a relationship, it's like you marry not only your lover and your best friend, you know what I mean? And you can just kind of see how Courtney B. Vance's character, he starts to realize that near the end, you know what I mean? And it was obviously with, the angel Denzel coming into this part, you know what I mean? Because yeah, it just looks like the way how it is in the beginning, like how these lot ever gonna last like a month, of marriage, because it's just like arguments, they're never talking. He hasn't got time for this. He's more focused about like what's he gonna do with the church and that. But yeah, it's actually a really good film for like marriage couples. I'm not just saying black married couples, I'm talking about couples who have been probably, married for like, or close to a decade, like what kind of do they do when the spark dies, you know what I mean? When they feel like, because like I said, when the spark dies, and in this case, you got the sexiest man alive at this time coming to your doorstep, it's very easy just to fall into that temptation, even though she was a married woman at this time, you know what I mean? So how do you find ways to be like, well, I loved you because of this, I feel like I'm the relationship doctor. How did they talk about this now? But yeah, I would definitely say it's a strong like thing of like, making sure that when you're married and you love someone, try, if you really really care about someone, try go for all the ways to keep them, what I mean? Make sure you keep, I'm not saying put wholesome on that, don't make sure I'm selling my soul for you, you know what I mean? It just should be an even partnership, you got to do this together. And especially when they have the kid, that's obviously like the responsibility as well. So yeah, man, if anyone has seen The Preacher's Wife, please let me know what you think about it, because I'm only on my first viewing ever, like I said, I've known about The Preacher's Wife for ages, and I said, you know what, I can't be the 90s guy if I'm not taking time to watch like a big hit from the 90s. So I said, yeah, definitely, I want, what I mean? I only got this for like, how they say in the States, a couple of bucks, but like, I said, definitely let me see this, man, what I mean? And yeah, it was just a nice, Christmas movie. Even though we're in Halloween time, it's like when I was watching this, I just felt like, them times when I watched like Toy Story for the first time or Home Alone, I mean, them nice, Christmas films, so yeah, man, if anyone has watched this, please just let me know about it. So guys, thanks again for watching this 90s review on The Preacher's Wife. Stay tuned, because I will be back with a few other vids from the 90s, and we're gonna reviews the next one, and stay tuned for the next one, because that's gonna be a spectacle. Peace to fingers.